Is this the dagger?
G'day guys, JB here, and we only have a couple of weeks left in the 25-26 NBA season, and that means that some of the award races are tightening up. Some players are making moves, others are falling off, and whether they're falling off through form or falling off through games qualifications, well, one thing is leading to another. Of course, team performance is also a factor in this for me, has been for a number of years, but nonetheless things are starting to speak up and stay really loud as far as cases and conversations have gone. This month of the MVP race has been as hot for an MVP race that we've seen in a number of years. Plenty of guys with big performances, plenty of guys with big numbers, and plenty of big cases to be made. I think you'll find some shocks in amongst this. For others, I don't think you'll be too surprised whatsoever. Let's get into it. My MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season. We start, as always, with the qualifiers. Really simple qualifiers. These have never, ever changed. You've got to be on pace to play in 65 games. All of these guys here still have a chance to play in at least 65 regular season games. These guys are leading their teams to wins. There are only a few players missing from this list that sort of hit the 20 win mark this season. It has been very high-end talent as far as that is concerned. In previous years, I've seen high teens getting votes, but this year you need to be winning or be a part of at least 23 wins as it stands to be in consideration for the MVP race. Trade talk, that is not an option at this point, but certainly if you are a player that has been traded, you are not on this list. And playoff hopes. All of these teams and all of these players, all of these players are on teams, I should say, that are well and truly in contention or have playoff aspirations. So again, a chance to play 65 games, leading your team to wins, haven't been traded, and at the end of the day, team in contention and in the playoffs. I'll start with the honourable mentions, and then we'll hit the top 10. First honourable mention, this is a guy who has consistently been in the top 10 of the MVP race for most of the year. I think we're going to see him on an All-NBA team. Whether we get him back into the MVP race is ultimately going to come down to games played for people and potentially for himself as well. First honourable mention goes to Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. 25.8 points, 3.9 rebounds, 6 assists, 0.8 steals, 0.3 blocks on 3.2 turnovers, shooting 45.7 from the field, 32.7 from deep, and 86.8 from the free throw line. He's played in 60 games. The team has a 35-25 record in those games. He's also averaged 33.3 minutes, and I have him responsible for 23 wins. That's right, I think he's led the team to 23 of a possible 35 wins in the scenario that he's in right now. Phoenix are 7th in the West. They are locked into a play-in tournament. Pretty much every team's fate has been sealed. It's now a matter of where they will seed as the rest of the year plays out. But Devin Booker has been part of a super consistent lineup there in Phoenix for most of the year. They haven't gone extremely high. They haven't fallen extremely low. They have well and truly exceeded my expectations, and he has been the one constant on this team. Started out with Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks by his side. Jalen Green then missing quite an extended period with injury. Dylan Brooks really built himself up to be a great running buddy. He himself has also been injured and dealt with suspensions and other misdemeanors as well. So he hasn't been necessarily by his side. Factoring in that Colin Gillespie and Grayson Allen have been some other guys that have been really picking up the slack for this team. And yeah, you have a team that has certainly overperformed, and a guy like Devin Booker has been the reason for it. He is more of a traditional two guard, but he has the ability to play the one. I've been saying this for years about how underappreciated he is as that two-natured player on the offensive side of the ball. And this year has been no exception. I think he's been really outstanding, and I think you're going to see an All-NBA nod for him at a minimum. Whether we see him crack back into the MVP race and into the top 10 by the end of the season is yet to be seen, but there's no doubt about it, he has had a sensational season. First honourable mention in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season, Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns. My second honourable mention is a guy that has been in and out of honourable mentions, who has been in and out of the MVP race and a massive, massive run by his team over the last month has put him way back up in the conversation. It's put them back into playoff contention, and it's going to make things very interesting in the East. My second honourable mention to the end of March for 25-26 is Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. Johnson is averaging 22.9 points, 10.2 rebounds, 8.1 assists, 1.3 steals, and 0.4 blocks on 3.4 turnovers. He's shot 49.3% from the field, 35.4 from deep, and 78.7 from the free throw line. He's played in 67 games, so congratulations, big tick in the box there. He is going to qualify for All-NBA and MVP potential. He's averaging 35.4 minutes in those games, 39 and 48 record under his stewardship, and I've got him responsible for 23 of those 39 wins. Johnson as well ranks 6th in per game assists and 7th in per game rebounds across the league. Johnson had a really good breakout season last year. He has solidified that performance this year by keeping Atlanta well and truly where they are right now. And to be fair, they have had a bit of a softer run in March. I don't think anyone's debating that, but they have also had some pretty crucial games against some decent opponents where they have stood up, stood tall, and proven what they can be. We saw bits of that out of Atlanta earlier in the season, but now we're seeing that pretty consistently, and it does all come off the back there of Jalen Johnson. Again, showed spurts of this last year. You can make a real good case that he is the most improved player in the league. The only problem is someone like an Gilgeous-Alexander Walker's gone from single-digit scoring to 20 points per game scoring on the same team and has been a pretty crucial recruit. When you look at Atlanta, they have had inconsistencies on the offensive side of the ball. Jalen Johnson has been able to negate that, borderline triple-double every single night. He is able to produce, consistently on the scoring side of the ball, and he's able to distribute the ball. He's a very good rebounder as well. And then you factor in some of the defensive lapses they've had. He's been able to step up as far as that's concerned as well. Now, I don't think he's absolutely elite at anything. I don't think he's an elite scorer. I don't think he's necessarily an elite distributor of the ball. And by no means do I think that he is absolutely 100% an elite defender. But when you look at what that team brings on both sides of the ball, they need a guy who's able to step up and plug that as well as still be the leader. He's absolutely that guy, and that is a big reason why Atlanta have won games. It's why I've been able to credit them to Jalen Johnson. It's why they're sitting top 5 in the East, and it's a big reason why he's in this conversation now. Second honourable mention in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season, Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. This one right here is probably going to make some people wonder. It's probably going to make some people wince. But realistically, I have to base this off everything that I've seen this season and based off the principles of which I've always judged my MVP. I need you to win. I need you to play games. I need you to win games. I need you to be in playoff contention. And I certainly don't need you to be traded. This guy ticks all of these boxes. He is one of the absolute elite players that the game has ever seen, one of the all-time greats. His resume suggests that there. I just feel that with time missed and some of the lower-end performances he has had post-All-Star break, that has been a concern and has taken a hit to his case. So at number 10, I have Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. And that will be a bit of a controversial take. It'll be a bit of a hot take. But this is all routed in the exact same thing that I've done every year, and that is grading on a game-by-game basis and the performance that comes on that game-by-game basis. Now, that's not to discredit anything that Jokic is doing. Right now, Denver remain top 4 in the West. They are still a chance to finish 3rd in the West. He leads the league in rebounds per game. He leads the league in assists per game. And he is still top 10 in scoring. He still ranks in at 7th. Jokic on the year, 27.9 points, 12.8 rebounds, 10.8 assists, 1.4 steals, and 0.8 blocks on 3.9 turnovers. That turnover range has really grown over the last month or so, and a lot of that has come down to some of the poorer passing and some of the lacking efficiency that he has had. I think we have to be fair. It's there. You have to call it out. But that does say a lot because he is still shooting 57.4% from the field, 38.5% from deep, and 82.7% from the free throw line. He is still as efficient and productive an offensive player in the league. The only other guy that has a case of being more efficient and productive, or the only two guys, are the guys that are sitting at the very top of this tree. That should give you an indicator of who I will speak about later on in this video. Jokic has played 59 games and he is on the precipice of not making the 65 game range. 34.9 minutes. 37 and 22 when he has played, and I have him responsible for 23 of those 37. Now, could you argue that Jamal Murray has taken away from his MVP case this year? Absolutely you could. Jamal Murray's had a career year. This is what we've expected out of Jamal Murray when he has been healthy and when he can perform. That's not a knock on Nikola Jokic, but, it certainly is a tick in the box for Denver as a unit and their leaders. Jokic is getting older. He's been doing this to a high level for 6-7 years now, so you have to expect at some point there's a fall away. I think a lot of it has come down to the fact that he has missed time, that he has been a little inefficient since that return, and Denver right now have a bigger picture at hand rather than Jokic's individual accolades there. But again, 7th in scoring, leads the league in rebounds and assists. He's still as productive of a player in the league as there is, and that's why I've got Nikola Jokic at number 10 in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season. Coming in at number 9 is a guy that I did not think we would ever see in an MVP conversation ever again, and certainly didn't believe after the start of the season that this person or this team would be anywhere near contention for a playoff spot, let alone MVP conversations or all NBA conversations. But he has proven why, when healthy and when able to take the court, he has been one of the most dynamic and intricate superstars that the league has ever seen. A guy that plays both sides of the ball, a guy that has just been rarely healthy, but when he has been healthy, has staked his claim as the best player on the planet. At number 9, I have Kawhi Leonard of the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, Kawhi, 28.1 points, 6.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists, 2 steals, 0.5 blocks on 2.1 turnovers. So, factoring in that he's scoring as well as any time he ever has in his career, offensively you can argue it's the best year he's had. I would argue he's had far better years. I'm talking Spurs, I'm talking Raptors, even his very early Clipper years from an all-round perspective. But when you look at 28.1 points, 6.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists, he's right up there in steals in the league at 2 a game, half a block on 2.1 turnovers. On the other side of that, he's shooting 50.3 from the field, 38% from deep, 89.9 from the free throw line. Like, Kawhi's just still being Kawhi. He's just doing it on a different level. He's currently 6th in scoring, 4th in steals. He's played 60 games, 32.1 minutes, 35 and 25 record in those 60 games, and I have him responsible for 24 wins. I think there is a serious case to be made that Kawhi Leonard, on a game-by-game basis, on a night-to-night basis, on a consistency basis all season, has had a better season than Nikola Jokic. And the numbers are slightly different. I get that. But I'm also coming down to the impact and what you've done and where your team's sitting and what you've done for it. Kawhi is that guy and has been for a number of years. Again, it's all about him being healthy, right? And the whole conversation has always been around Kawhi being healthy. Despite the fact when he has been healthy, he has arguably been the best player in the NBA. Now, I don't think that he's at best player in the NBA conversations anymore, but he's certainly in the top 10. And I think this year it would be absolutely vermisterous to say that Kawhi is probably not going to not be all NBA second team and potentially all defensive second team as well. Like, this is a guy that hasn't done this for like 2 or 3 seasons. He's just rolled out and done it again. Kawhi's only ever had 3 years of 65 games plus. This year would be his 4th. That's the sort of contribution we're seeing out of Kawhi. Elite offensive possession, elite two-way presence. He's on the floor. He's contributing to wins. He's getting the job done, and he's dragged them from nowhere. At 9, I have Kawhi Leonard of the Los Angeles Clippers in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season. And the Clippers currently sitting 8th in the West. Coming in at number 7 is the most consistent piece for the Philadelphia 76ers that they have had all season. Maxey has had some injuries. He has been out with some concerns, but it does look like that he's going to get to 65 games at least. He has been one of the elite scorers in the league, one of the elite steals guys in the league. He's as good a downhill scorer that we've seen. His three-point presence with bulk amount of attempts has been great as well. He has just, played on a team that his second best option this year has been a rookie. And I think that is probably well understated, that his second best option has been a rookie. The consistent third and fourth options in Paul George and Joel Embiid have been injured or suspended. When they've been there, awesome. We've seen what Paul George has done in the last week or so since his return, and we've seen what Joel Embiid's been able to do from an efficiency standpoint. Quentin Grimes, he's been looking really nice off the bench as well. When you think of what you've got at the very top of the pile here for Philadelphia and what's being led by Maxey, you're looking at a team that can make some noise in the East. The only problem is the noise that they're making is checking into the emergency room generally. It's just not falling right for them. But what has been falling a little bit has been Maxi's ranking. A lot of that comes down to the fact that he has been out and he has been unavailable. But to me, he's still been a top 10 player in the league this year. It's going to take a lot to take him away from that. Maxi is currently 4th in the league in scoring. He's 2nd in the league in steals. He has Philadelphia sitting 7th in the East. And he has had a career year. 28.8 points, 4.2 rebounds, 6.7 assists, 2 steals, 0.8 blocks on 2.4 turnovers, 46.1 from the field, 37.2 from deep, 89.3 from the free throw line. So again, you're seeing the two-way nature of his game. He really gets up and down the floor. He's as quick as any player in the league. He's as fast as any player in the league. And he scores a pretty efficient clip based on all of that as well. He's played 63 games, again, only needing to get to the 65, so he's only going to have to manage 2 for the rest of the way. 38.4 minutes, he is a high minutes guy comparatively to the rest of the league. 34 and 29 record when he's out there, and I've got him responsible for 24 wins. So as you can see, the split between my honourable mentions and my number 8 ranking, a game. Like a literal game. It comes down to seedings, you name it. It's a big factor in all of it there, but yeah, big year by Maxi. As I said, he's become a really elite on-ball guy. He's quick enough to play passing lanes. Now, when I say elite on-ball comparatively because of how quick he is, I think there are better on-ball defenders, but when you look at the speed and the quickness that he does bring, it does make him a nightmare to match up against. His downhill speed gets him into his offense really, really well, and that's been a saving grace for Philadelphia this year. So at number 8, in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season, I have Tyrese Maxey, the Philadelphia 76ers. At number 7, I have a guy who is currently sitting 8th in scoring. He has been partnered up with James Harden just at the trade deadline there, looking to make some moves and solidify Cleveland in the East. They've moved into a genuine top 4 contendership, but we have to be upfront and frank. The only reason that Cleveland were even able to be in that position once health kicked back in and trades kicked back in is because Donovan Mitchell saved them from being a playing tournament team for a vast majority of this season. At number 7, I have Donovan Mitchell in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season as the leader of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, as I mentioned there, Mitchell, he is sitting 8th in scoring. He has Cleveland sitting top 4 in the East. And for the season, he's averaging 27.7 points, 4.4 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 1.5 steals, 0.5 blocks on 2.8 turnovers. The minutes per game volume is higher. The efficiency is a little lower, but that's because he's had to shoulder the load. Like, eventually it comes to a point where something has to take a hit. Now, when Mitchell was 25-5-5, playing less than 30 minutes a night, when Evan Mobley was out firing, Ty Jerome was there last year, all these guys were starting to click on a 64-win team, didn't have to shoulder as much of the load. But you have to look at what he's really contributed this year. He has gone above what he did last year in a performance standpoint for me, and he has consistently been a top 5 guy in the league for me this year. Harden has taken that away a little bit. Jarrett Allen had a really good month, and Evan Mobley has come back on, again, looking towards that all-defensive sort of nod. But as far as maintaining the team presence and where they're at, it has to be Donovan Mitchell. 47.9 from the field, so he's still shooting really well. 36.3 from deep, 86.2 from the free throw line. Again, 6'1" here for Donovan Mitchell. He's been doing this since his rookie year. And, a season like this really should open people's eyes as to how great of a player he is. If he was doing this in Philadelphia, if he was doing this in Chicago, Boston and LA, that's a given. They're your big media markets. But if he was in Philadelphia and Chicago doing this, like the conversation around Donovan Mitchell would be vastly different. Let alone a guy who went from Utah to Cleveland, two of the absolute smallest markets of any sport, let alone basketball. He has played the 65 games, so he will stay qualified there at 67, 33.4 minutes. The Cavs, 42 and 25 under his stewardship. Like, people don't realise the work that he's put in to keep them there, and I've got him responsible for 28 wins. So we've taken a bit of a step up from your Maxis and your Kawhis to get to where Mitchell is. And again, we're talking about a guy, for me, who's consistently been top 5 all year. I've got him at 7 right now. Who knows what the rest of the season looks like. But again, number 7 in my MVP race to the end of March of 25-26. Donovan Mitchell, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Moving on to number 6. And we've got a guy here who, much like Donovan Mitchell, has been right up there in the conversations for top 5 MVP conversation all year. A guy who's been well and truly up there in All-NBA conversations, who has truly led his team for most of the year. Now, that should give you a bit of a hint as to who's to come in this race and where they potentially sit, but I'll let you work that out very, very shortly. Coming in at number 6, I have Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. Not an easy decision to make, but I do have to be true to the assessment that I've made consistently, and the other guys that I have put in front of him, or that currently sit in front of him, you know, they're qualified to be there. I'm not doing it just out of a whim. Brunson remains the leader of the team. He remains the barometer of the team. If he's up and firing and playing well, so are the Knicks, and they look like one of the best teams in the league. When he's having a downtime and other guys are having to step up, but his contributions aren't there, you're looking at a different conversation again around what that team looks like. But Brunson, he will ultimately decide the fate of New York with his play, and ultimately decide how well his teammates play with him as well. Brunson this year, 26.1 points, 3.4 rebounds, 6.7 assists, 0.8 steals, 0.1 blocks on 2.4 turnovers. Again, one of the smaller guys in the league that is still getting it done. 46.5 from the field, 37.1 from deep, 84.1 from the free throw line. He's played in 70 games, and that's going to be a big tick for him moving forward, with some of the people potentially up and around him that might not make it. 35 minutes a game, 46-24 record in the 70 games, and I've got him responsible for 29 wins. He's pretty stiff right now not to be in the top 5. He's pretty stiff not to be in the top 4, top 3. But that is just the level that these other guys have really stepped up to. Speak about this all the time with Brunson, and we've seen it with the form of the Knicks. Now, they've had a pretty good run over the last month or so, but they are playing against lower level teams. When you look at when Brunson has performed, and when you've seen the Knicks perform with Brunson, they've been doing it against really good to high quality teams. So, moving forward, are we going to see Jalen Brunson take that step up against those really good teams to try and get the Knicks back into position? Or are they potentially going to be, smouldering down a little bit lower because they've had a bit of an easier run in the fixture, and that's certainly going to impact exactly how they look going into the postseason. They've got a couple of weeks to make sure they get it right. Brunson is the same, but you've also got to look at who's been performing in those games. Karl Anthony Towns is not to the level that he was last year. Can you rely on him to help out? How consistent are you going to get Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart? How consistent are they going to be? It does all depend, but that big dependency is going to come down to the performance of Jalen Brunson. If he's up and about, the Knicks will be up and about. If he's not, they could be in trouble. But at number 6 in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season, I have Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. Coming in at number 5 is a guy that has consistently sat in my top 2 for most of the season, but he is currently out with an injury, and the concern right now is that injury, based on rules that are provided by the league, is going to cost him a bit. And by a bit, we're potentially going to see this man not be eligible for the MVP, let alone eligible for all NBA honors. Currently at number 5, I have Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. Now, Cade has played 61 games. He only needs to play in another 4. The problem is, most of the league's only got 8 games left. So he's going to need to play every second game. And we're talking about a guy who is suffering now with a collapsed lung. Now, I can't speak from personal experience, of having had that, but I know of very close family and friends that have experienced it. There's a good chance that he's not going to make that 65-game rule. I'm just going to be blunt with it. And I'm not dirty on that for the simple fact that I think the 65-game rule is still not strict enough. I think it should be 70 games. The only 2 MVPs in league history to not play at that equivalent for 82 games, which is about 85% of the season, works out to around 70 games, are Joel Embiid and Bill Walton. The only 2 MVPs to never play until that rule was instituted at an 85% pace of the season. That includes lockouts, by the way. So it would be disappointing, but I wouldn't be shocked, and I could totally understand it. The league at this point has an issue of implementing rules and people not being able to be fair judges. Don't know how they're going to balance it out. I think 70 games needs to be the minimum. We'll stick with 65, but I think the minimum needs to be 70. Nonetheless, Cade has had an absolutely sensational year. I did gloss over it a little bit there. Brunson currently sitting 9th in scoring compared to Mitchell at 8th. Cade Cunningham, he is 2nd in the league in assists to Nikola Jokic and overall has had a far better season than previous. 24.5 points, 5.6 rebounds, 9.9 assists, 1.5 steals and 0.9 blocks on 3.7 turnovers. 46.1% from the field, 34.6 from deep, 81.4 from the free throw line. Again, he's basically got to play half of the games remaining in the season to even qualify at 65 games. He's played 61, 34.4 minutes in those games, 44-17 record when he has been in. Like, they have been a great team when he has been in, and I've got him for 29 wins. Like, right now, if the season ended and everyone was able to make All-NBA, he'd be my point guard. That's how good of a season he has played. He'd be one of my 5 guards, and I'd have no issues with that. The conversation is going to be, does Cade play enough games? It's ultimately what it's going to come down to. 5th in my MVP race to end of March with the 25-26 NBA season, Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. At number 4, we go to the green team, and we go to a guy who has shown fleetingly throughout his career and in big moments, not so fleetingly, that he can lead this team and he can be as an impactful player as anybody in the association. He's a former finals MVP. He has, as I said, he's shown throughout history that he can be the leader of a team. That's exactly what he's done this year. He's bang on 65 games. He's got Boston to 50 wins. He's got Joe Mazzulla, his 4th 50-win season in as many years. He is Jaylen Brown, and I've got him at number 4 in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season. Jaylen Brown this year, really nice year for him. He is currently sitting 5th in scoring in the league, and he has taken a team that many thought would be a borderline playoff team into a team right now with Jason Tatum back that very well could make the NBA Finals from the East. And who knows what happens from there. You've only got to be competitive, and somehow Boston have found the mix once again to get that done. Brown has been the leader of that, and I think you have to give him full credit to be the leader of a team that no one expected to perform. Full credit to the coaching staff, full credit to the guys around him. But at the end of the day, Brown is the player that has stepped up. He has stepped out. He has been huge all year. 28.6 points, as I mentioned, sitting 5th in scoring, 7th in he's 7 rebounds a game, 5.2 assists, 1 steal, and 0.4 blocks on 3.6 turnovers. 47.7 from the field, 34.2 from deep, 80.2 from the free throw line. There is not much more you can say about Jaylen Brown. That's just how good of a season he has had. He has been tremendous. He's been having an impact. You know, that's all you can really ask for from a guy who's been asked to step up and take a place, who has been scrutinised about whether he is a first or second option. Can he work with a teammate that's out? Great, now that teammate's out, well, it's definitely his team. You don't want him to come back. No, that would rain on your own parade. And then when he comes back and has a performance, the debate rages on again. And if there's one guy that's stuck fat with it, that is stuck steady, that hasn't weighed into the debate, it's been Jaylen Brown. He has simply let his basketball do the talking. Clearly can score the basketball. Capable defender on a team that is reasonably good defensively, and he leads from the front. He wants the big moments. He relishes the big moments. Again, they're a 50-win team. A team we didn't think was going to be near that this year has won 50 games off the back of his performance and his dedication, and showing that, hey, I'm the next man up and I'm going to take this team by the scruff of the neck and drag it kicking and screaming through the Eastern Conference. And right now they're a chance to potentially finish the first seed, let alone finish top 2. Brown with a phenomenal performance this year. That's why I have him at number 4 in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season. Coming in at number 3 is a guy that has had to bust his backside to get back into the top 10 after what seemed to be an injury that was going to cost him his season. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a guy right now that is being genuinely talked as the best player in the game, a guy that is clearly the defensive player of the year, and could, in the minds of some voters, be the most valuable player in the NBA. At number 3, I have Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. Year 4, Victor Wembanyama. A guy who right now across the league is top 5 in rebounding, as you would expect at 7'6", and he is clearly the leader in block shots, and he is by far and away the best defender in basketball. For the year, Victor, 24.5 points, 11.4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, 1.1 steals and 3.1 blocks on 2.5 turnovers. We haven't seen this consistent level of defensive prowess since Tim Duncan. And we haven't seen these numbers, these actual raw statistics, since David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon. Ben Wallace is probably the guy that gets overlooked the most in that conversation. I apologise for that. But for a guy at 7 foot, like, they're the guys to compare to. Like, and from an elite peak for peak standpoint, you would argue the two best defenders from the centre position, and certainly from a big man position the league has seen since Bill Russell. They're the three. The three best defensive bigs the league has seen since Bill Russell, being Robinson, Olajuwon, and Duncan. Ben Wallace probably the best undersized defender, or that 6'9" range since Bill Russell. That's where Victor Wembanyama sits right now. That's a hell of a ceiling. 3 of the 10 best defenders, 4 of the 10 best defenders ever conversation. At least from a minimum standpoint of the centre position, let alone all time. The guy's in his 4th year. To me, he's going to make the All-NBA first team. I would give him the nod ahead of Nikola Jokic. Keeping in mind, I think Jokic probably still makes it, but I would put him ahead of Jokic at that point. That's the kind of season that he's had. 50.4% from the field, 35.1 from deep, 82.2 from the free throw line, 60 games played. Keeping in mind, he's had a minutes restriction. He's doing this in less than 30 minutes a contest, 29.3 right now. The Spurs are 47-13 in the games that he's played, and I have him responsible for 31 wins. He is the defensive player of the year, and he may just be the most valuable player in the NBA. The thing that hurts right now is games missed. At 3 in my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season, Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. Coming in at number 2, this one, well, this is a guy that, much like our previous nominee, has absolutely sent himself up the charts with one of the biggest offensive months that we have seen in modern basketball history, topped only by the likes of a Kobe Bryant, of a James Harden, and a Michael Jordan. That's the level of offensive production, to the point where Luka Doncic, who I have at number 2 in my MVP race, raised his points per game by over a point per game. Now that seems ridiculous on the surface, but the guy had the highest scoring month by a Laker in history, surpassing Kobe Bryant's March of 2006. Like, you have to put in a lot of work to raise your scoring average by, 1.2 points. He was 32.6 a game. He's now 33.8. He's doing it at an efficient clip too, comparatively. He has lifted all of his shooting stats. Oh, by the way, adding in the rebounds, adding in the assists, and improving as an individual defender. Like, has just absolutely thrown his mind at the game over the last month. The annoying part for Luka and Laker fans is that it hasn't been enough to stop a guy who has just done it all year. That is the only thing that is right now stopping Luka Doncic from being in the MVP conversation, or being the MVP, I should say. It's clearly in the conversation, but that's the only thing stopping him from being the MVP. A slow start. Because he has had a phenomenal March, and I am willing to back that to the hilt. This is the best year of Luka's career. For the season, Luka Doncic, who, again, number 2 in my MVP race to the end of March, 25-26. 33.8 points, 7.8 rebounds, 8.3 assists, 1.7 steals, and 0.5 blocks on 4 turnovers. 47.7% from the field, 36.8 from deep, and 77.9 from the free throw line. When you get to the efficiency numbers, that is the only thing that's holding him back, and I think it's the only thing that cost the Lakers early. Other than that, he had a phenomenal month. Again, the high-scoring month by a Laker in history, surpassing Kobe Bryant's March of 2006. The season he averaged 35 a game. The year that he averaged, I believe it was 40 in the month of January. Oh, he scored 81 that year too. That's the kind of tear that Luka Doncic has been on. 63 games, 35.9 minutes a game, 43-20 record under him, and I've got him responsible for 32 wins. He leads the league in scoring. He's 4th in assists. He's also now 7th in steals per contests. A phenomenal month. A huge finish to the end of the year. But he's still a long way back, in my opinion. At number 2, the MVP race to the end of March for 25-26, Luka Doncic of the Los Angeles Lakers. And at number 1, it hasn't changed. Got an early lead, has an unassailable lead, by the way. Just want everyone to realise that. I've got him in an unassailable lead. Started early, started consistent, has remained consistent. Yep, the conversation around the free throws is there, absolutely. But it's not the be-all, end-all of this guy's offensive game. It's not the be-all, end-all of any of his game. Because he is so far and away efficient with what he does, ball in hand, shooting the basketball defensively, that you are struggling to make a conversation right now beyond the free throws. And I get the free throws, I understand it, but he's a guy that gets it done elsewhere and gets it done in the big moments. And that's a vastly different conversations to guys who have had big moments and melted under the heat or can't do anything if they're not getting to the foul line. That is not what happens to this guy right here. At number one in my MVP race, and the guy who will be, in my opinion, the MVP for the 25-26 NBA season. Right now it's to the end of March. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shai himself is still having a monster year. And these numbers do at times fail in comparison to his peers. But it does come down to efficiency. It does come down to leadership. It comes down to big games. It comes down to big moments. And he is as good as the rest of them when it comes to this. Shai on the year, 31.6 points, 4.4 rebounds, 6.5 assists, 1.4 steals, and 0.8 blocks on just 2.2 turnovers. I rounded 32, 4, and 7 with a steal and a block on 2 turnovers. Factoring in the scoring prowess, 55.3% from the field. Guy gets to the foul line and makes 88% of them. Oh, by the way, don't leave him alone outside. He shoots 38%. So you've got a guy who scores as efficiently as Nikola Jokic from the floor, shoots the 3-ball as well as any high-volume 3-ball shooter in the league, converts the free throw line as well as anyone in the league, cannot be stopped in the mid-range, makes you pay for it when you foul him, and he's available. 64 games, 33.6 minutes. The Thunder are 52-12 when he's there. 41 wins to his name. Yes, that's right, 41 wins. That's putting him right up there in the elite of the elite all-time in MVP races on my votes. My MVP to the end of March and my soon-to-be MVP in total for the 25-26 NBA season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's the race there, guys. The winner has already gone through the tape. We're waiting to see who finishes 2nd through 10th. It's a secretariat level of win. Recapping my MVP race to the end of March. My first honourable mention is Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns, and my second honourable mention is Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. Coming in at number 10, controversially, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. At number 9, I have Kawhi Leonard of the Los Angeles Clippers. At number 8, I have Tyrese Maxey of the Philadelphia 76ers. At number 7, I have Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At number 6, I have Jalen Brunson of the New York Knicks. At number 5, I have Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. At number 4, I have Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. At number 3, the bronze medal on the podium right now, for me, the Defensive Player of the Year, Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. The silver medalist after an unbelievable run through March. Again, one of the all-time scoring months in the history of the league. At number 2, I have Luka Doncic of the Los Angeles Lakers, but still well and truly ahead and by a long way. At number 1, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. That has been my MVP race to the end of March for the 25-26 NBA season. I'm out.